We are 11 games into Caitlin Clark's career, and already we know certain things. We know certain things are coming, and we're all going to figure out how to deal with them. I'm here to separate the signal from the noise. Let's have a reckoning together, everybody. A very special Monday edition of Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. For those of you who have been with us for a long time, we go back 7 years together talking about the sport that we love, women's basketball, 6 days a week. You guys keep showing up for us. We're going to keep showing up for you. And it is not just me, it is everyone over at thenexthoops.com, where we have over 100 reported pieces every month, not hot takes, not clicks, reporting about the past, present, and the future of the game that matters to all of us. Thenexthoops.com, if you care about this the way we do, $9 a month, $72 a year. Subscribe, join us, help us build. This has been so important to me for my career, for what I believe is a calling, because there are stories that need to be told, and because this day was always going to come where more eyes on the league means more noise, not just more signal, but more noise. So 3 segments for you today. Segment 1, Caitlin Clark and the WNBA in 2024. What we know so far. We know a lot. A lot of what you're hearing isn't what we know. We know a lot, and we're going to separate that out. Segment 2, what's ahead? Everything that's happening right now was foreseeable, was predictable. Been waiting for it. It's awful. Some of it is ugly. Some of it reflects our society. None of it's a surprise. Number 3, segment 3, how to cope with the noise. What do we do about it? The worst people in the public sphere have caught on to this simple fact. Those who care about the WNBA have a very understandable and dramatic reaction to the WNBA being attacked, mishandled, co-opted. They love it. They love it. Oh, look at what the mentions are going to be like. Look at what the quote tweets are going to be like. You fight back like you fight any fire. You don't give it oxygen. We're going to talk about it in segment 3. But I want to start. Caitlin Clark just completed her first 11 games. This matters. I'll let you say, oh, what's 11 games, right? Well, 11 games tells us a lot. We knew months ago this was going to be a problem. The Indiana Fever began 11 games in their first 20 days. The schedule makers very unkind to them. What do we know? This is not the league conspiracy. Okay, this schedule was prepared months and months and months ago. The schedule was released just 8 days after the Indiana Fever got the top pick. It's not some frozen envelope scenario involving Lynn Dunn and the Indiana Fever. They did no favors to Caitlin Clark by forcing her to open at Connecticut and against the great Alyssa Thomas and Dejanay Carrington. The length of that defender was a huge problem. Caitlin Clark held her own. She shot 1 for 10. I was at Barclays. I covered it on Sunday night. Her legs are tired. Everyone's tired. As Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith, what are you most excited about? Now that you get a few days. They were excited about sleeping in. This was a tired group. And yet, Caitlin Clark in her first 11 games, assist percentage of 34.1, sixth in the league, 70 assists total. That is second in the WNBA. A lot of people mistakenly believe she would struggle to get to the rim. She is not, and she is in fact shooting 46% from two. The threes are a little down. She's about 30%. 11 games in 20 days. 11 games in 20 days. Indiana Fever, they're 2-9. The Chicago Sky right now, the 8th seed. The season ended today. It definitely does not. 3 wins, 3-4. Nobody's played as many games as the Fever. So they're further behind in the loss column. But the bottom line is the Fever can make up some ground and pretty quickly. They are tired now, but they will get rest. And coming up on Friday, they face the Washington Mystics on the road, followed by the Sun and Huntersville again. Not easy, of course. Home for 3. This is where we're really going to start to see what Christy Sides getting to practice with this team does, what Aaliyah Boston rounding into form, and Kelsey Mitchell being 100%. And my God, Kelsey Mitchell was playing at full speed, Kelsey Mitchell style, even last night. 11-20. Didn't matter. She said it was like AAU to her. It was just so much fun to watch. Home, 13th against the Dream. Home, 16th against the Sky. Home, 19th against the Mystics. That's where we're going to start to get a real sense of the Indiana Fever. So what do we know? We know that Caitlin Clark can hold her own, and that is significant in and of itself. We know Kennedy Carter did herself no favors. You have seen the foul. You have seen the toxic conversation around it. It was not a basketball play. It was a flagrant foul. Indiana appealed to the lead. It should have been called in the moment. It wasn't. The lead made the right decision, upgraded it to a flagrant 1. There was a delay in taking responsibility, but ultimately the Sky put out a statement on Monday. When you don't talk to the press, all that happens is the bad story lingers. Steve Greenberg had a terrific column about this. The Sky needed to do better on the PR side as well. That's just indisputable. Kennedy Carter's on her 3rd team at age 25. A lottery pick, one of the most talented players I've ever seen. She can be all of these things. The league can appreciate what Caitlin Clark is doing and try to grind her into the ground because this is the best professional league in the world, the hardest professional league in the world to make. They should be doing both of these things. Players are not a monolith. I've talked on this show how the media is not a monolith. Players are not a monolith. And the idea that you're going to have a scenario where players are going to what? Compete, but to a point? What? How do you even do that? How do you ask? These are players you are asking to put the pedal to the floor and fight like hell to win. I don't know how you do that halfway or to a point, or while also appreciating Shanae Agwumike, who always listened to her. We'll get more into segment 3 about how we make the best of this. Talked about the fact that she was tested as a rookie. Every rookie gets tested. Angel Reese got slammed to the ground by Alyssa Thomas. I'm not even going to address the particulars of who is the dumbest, and there are so many idiotic takes right now, but just this idea that what Kennedy Carter did was somehow so far beyond the pale that you'd write in a newspaper editorial about it, it boggles my mind. Players are going to go too far sometimes, and then they need to be officiated. This is how it needs to be done. So the league did the Fever no favors. Kennedy Carter did herself no favors. I mean, the biggest part to me is you look at what Kennedy Carter has done so far with the Sky, finally back in the league, and she's been incredible. She's come off the bench. She's been incredible. Again, I just think of the same player who never stopped playing. I remember watching Kennedy Carter in a McDonald's All-American game, and everyone played like it was an exhibition except Kennedy Carter, who never stopped playing in a blowout exhibition game as if it all mattered. Every single play mattered. There are going to be excesses. There are going to be things that everyone needs to figure out as they go. We need to give everybody grace to do that. Caitlin Clark needs to find her way forward in this league. It's all happening, is the thing. Caitlin Clark is no stranger to being the victim of physical defense. And I say victim in a loose sense. Physical defense as an effort to try and stop her. I asked her about it. She said it was something she dealt with all the time at Iowa. She dealt with it growing up. She'd always been number one on the scouting report. She had two brothers. She dealt with that in the driveway. She didn't be okay. She didn't be better than okay. You don't need to ride in on a white horse and save Caitlin Clark. So we got a lot more to come. I want to talk about what's ahead in segment 2 and how to cope with the noise in segment 3. I've got some ideas on all of it. I'm Howard Megdal, and you are listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Back after this. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. And so maybe you don't operate in an office environment where you get draft picks that you're able to select, or maybe win the lottery and have the opportunity to bring in Caitlin Clark a year after you bring in Aaliyah Boston. That's okay. LinkedIn Talent Solutions is here. When you're hiring for your small business, they are here to help. How helpful are they? So easy that in 86% of small businesses, they have gotten a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That is a better success rate than some WNBA teams have had, even in the lottery. Again, LinkedIn Talent Solutions, really helpful. We have writers who we have gotten through LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Locked On Women's Basketball is also brought to you by Magic Spoon. And when I say it is brought to you by Magic Spoon, I mean I am brought to you by Magic Spoon. They have unbelievable flavors, whether it's chocolate. I'm a chocolate person. The fruity flavor, the frosted, my kids, my wife love that. Peanut butter. There's this variety pack right now, and it's got all 4 of them. 0 grams of sugar, 13 or 14 grams of protein, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs, and only 140 calories a serving. Again, it's high protein, 0 grams of sugar, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free. What is it, magic? Close. Magic Spoon. So go to magicspoon.com/lockedon to grab a variety pack and try it today. Make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to save $5 off your order. Again, magicspoon.com/lockedon. They even have a 100% happiness guarantee. If you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Again, magicspoon.com/lockedon, code lockedon, save $5. And thank you, Magic Spoon, for not only sponsoring this episode, but for making breakfast delicious. Howard Megdal here, Locked On Women's Basketball, and we're back in segment 2. And it's time to talk about what's ahead, because we know what's ahead. More eyes mean more noise. I'm not going to dignify the person on ESPN today. I know which person, right? There were a couple of great moments, who decided, and is very good at it. There are a lot of people in this realm who are very good at it. I'm going to poke the bear because I know I'm going to get a reaction. And right now, you can get a reaction from women's basketball fans like nowhere else, because this is new, because this attention is at a volume that we have never seen before on the media side. And I know the fans I speak to have not seen it on the fandom side as well. Everyone is trying to understand, oh, this is great, but why does it feel this way? And I guess the thing I'd point to is every single time there's been an effort to dismantle the patriarchy in all of American history, and you want to go further back, did we think this was going to be easy? Did we think that those who have kept women's sports in the periphery were just going to give it up without a fight? Or worse, try and co-opt it and engineer it for their own purposes? Those purposes, everything from political to the number of clicks you can get to satisfy an arbitrary Google requirement? No. This is what was always going to be. This is going to continue. It's going to be messy. And the reason it's going to be messy is the WNBA is not a show. It is a competition. And I mentioned this in segment 1. But again, and I just want to shout out this particular aspect of this. There are people who are so thirsty to attack Angel Reese that even though it was Kennedy Carter who committed this foul, and again, we talked about it in segment 1, a non-basketball play, should have been upgraded to a flagrant, should have been answered for. All these things happened. This is not some sort of collapse of American society. This is a professional league. But people so thirsty to go after Angel Reese. Well, she got up off the bench when that happened. As if players pedal to the floor trying to do everything necessary to win and having their teammates' backs is somehow problematic. That simultaneously, Indiana Fever players are supposedly not having Caitlin's back enough. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't understand why anybody thinks a brawl would somehow be helpful. It is, again, we go back to what do we know? It is the league's responsibility to officiate in a way that the game continues to be the game, that there is a safety out there, and that when players do non-basketball things, like what happened this weekend, there are consequences for it. That's what needs to happen. Some sort of dramatic brawl-based moment doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. But again, you could simultaneously call for that and be upset that a player in the moment, in the heat of the moment, is in support of her teammate. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. We're not talking about after. We're not talking about processing and whether mistakes are made following that. By the way, mistakes are going to be made. These are players who are experiencing something no one's ever experienced before. And that's true of Caitlin too. There's never been this level of attention on women's basketball, simultaneously, disproportionately doled out and focused on one person who is then being asked to perform 11 games in 20 days. It's unprecedented. What we know is what's ahead. It smooths. Not going to be easy. It is never easy. And Kelsey Mitchell was quick to make that point when I talked to her post-game about, but now you got 29 games in a more reasonable time frame, and you've played a lot of your games against the very best the league has to offer. And what Kelsey said, and it's absolutely true, is there are no easy games. This is a difficult league. This is, I would argue, and I've covered every sport you can think of, I think it's the most competitive league in the world. Period. End of story. The worst actors in our public sphere will not stop poking. The WNBA is not a show. It is a competition, which is inherently messy, but great to watch, to see, to experience. And we're also going to get to see how Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever respond with a normal schedule. I'm fascinated. I can't wait to see what is next. So what do we all do? What do you do? What do I do here in the media? We're going to talk about it because we're going to have to come up with some responses that are not what I saw a lot of people in good faith doing today with people who are not in good faith. I'm Howard Megdal. This is Locked On Women's Basketball. We're going to talk prescriptions in segment 3 right after this. But first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. They got me covered. I just want my car to work so I can get to the next ball game. They do that too. With over 122 million parts, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, which is amazing for me because I don't know anything about cars. I just need my car to work. eBay Motors makes it happen. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Segment 3. I had a longtime colleague of mine tell me today that she didn't think this was fun anymore. And I asked her, I said, what was the last time you were at a WNBA arena? And she hadn't been. You go to these arenas, this toxic nonsense is not there. It's not there. I was in Brooklyn on Sunday night. That place was packed. People were having a great time. There were a ton of people in 22s and Indiana Fever colors. And there were a ton of people in Liberty Seafoam Green or their alternate jerseys in 30s and 20s and 5s. Should have done the whole show on Taylor Thornton today. In a different world, we would have. People had a great time. I rode the train back to New Jersey after it was over. And I've done this every home game that I've covered so far this year. I live a long way from Brooklyn. And there were Liberty fans and Caitlin Clark fans getting off that train, talking about the game, the league, the teams. You do not have to engage in the toxic garbage. You do not have to do it. There are people out there, and I know I talk about my team at the Next all the time. We're not the only ones. There's a growing group of people who are covering this league, who give you the opportunity to experience, enjoy this league for all of its good and bad. And I am not suggesting that the toxic nonsense and the way to counteract it is with toxic positivity. I am not. Find out the real, the good, the bad, all of it. Engage with it. Enjoy it. Relate to it. It's all there for you now because these games are on TV more than they've ever been. They are more accessible than they've ever been. We send you over 100 reported pieces every month, and we're one outlet, and there are really strong, deeply caring, unbelievably talented colleagues I have across the media landscape who are doing such good work to cover this league. You're going to have to be selective. You're going to have to look and see. Now you have the luxury of being selective, but also the obligation to yourself. And I'm just going to give you one more thing. Study after study will tell you that social media, and particularly the artist formerly known as Twitter, is built to make you angry. They are trying to make you angry. That awful man on TV today was trying to make you angry. And social media platforms, in many respects, particularly the artist formerly known as Twitter, is trying to make you angry. This is your leisure time. This is your free time. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. There are so many good and interesting stories in this league. There are players who don't like each other, and that is okay, because when they go at each other, the competition is intense. The Yankees and the Dodgers did not like each other in the 1950s, Major League Baseball, and it produced some of the greatest World Series we've ever seen. The Bulls and the Knicks did not like each other in the 1990s NBA, and we saw some of the most incredible playoff basketball you ever saw. Sometimes players like each other personally, but are more determined than ever to beat each other on the court because of the relationship off the court. And that can produce it too. Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi are very close friends. Nobody wanted to knock each other out of the playoffs more than Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. My point is, none of this is binary. There's people who like each other. There's people who tolerate each other. There's people who hate each other. What we know is that it's the best basketball the WNBA has ever been playing, that there is a crop of talented rookies. In another world, we'd just be talking about Angel Reese and her incredible offensive rebounding today. We would be talking about the fact that Cameron Brink is better at protecting the rim at the pro level than anyone had any right to expect right away. So miss me with the nonsense that this is a one-player rookie league, because it's not. There's a long season ahead. I promise you, if you spend the time focusing on the folks who are here to tell you what we know, what's ahead, and how to enjoy it, you will get more out of this WNBA season than you've gotten out of even the first 27 prior to this. That's the opportunity here. And when you engage with the bad faith folks, very smart person once told me, all you're doing is lending them your followers. That's all you're doing. All they want is the oxygen for the fire. You are that oxygen. Choose where you breathe in and breathe out. And think about, when you do, how it makes you feel. Back with you tomorrow, the great Gigi Spear, another talented colleague, will be here talking women's basketball. We'll be here talking women's basketball all the time, here at Locked On Women's Basketball, over at thenexthoops.com. Come breathe in with me. I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Monday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.